So I want to share something with you that I have not shared with you yet. I went out and hired an outside consulting company to help me get some things shifted and aligned so I could better connect with my tribe and build my tribe. And I have for a very long time resisted and shunned and turned away from Facebook. I have a personal Facebook page, and Fearless Wealth has a Facebook page, but I've never done anything with it. I don't know what to do when I go in. It's not my personality to go in and hang out in there. And so I've never used it as a tool to connect with people. And when I went out and hired this consulting company to help me kind of realign what is most important to me, one of the things that became clear is that the amount of touch points and connections that I want to make but am not with my tribe is something that's not only hurting a lot of other people, but it's not helping me fully fulfill on my mission, which is to show people what really works, right? Show people what really works in investing and use the kind of the science part of it. Right? What does science say really works? Not what marketing sells best or what the big box advisors want you to do or the pick of the month newsletter billion-dollar industry wants you to do, but what does science say that you should do? And, the healthcare industry uses science, right? They figure out the minimum dose for the maximum return of each drug. And so I wanted to do the same thing. And so with a super excitedness that I am turning on and starting a Facebook group. It's going to be free, but we have to opt you in for that. So you're going to want to be in that because I'm going to be moving over this conversation there. So there's going to be interactions and there's going to be more support and really getting people to the place that they need and want to be. So that is happening, and it is actually happening now as I talk to you about it. But going into 2017, it's going to be a lot more community, a lot more connection. And I'll be able to connect with you guys more than just once a week. So that is happening. If you want, and you may want to go back to the email that you got that has the link to this podcast, and on there's a link to join the Facebook group. I suggest you do that because there's going to be so many goodies on there. So do that when you're done. So guys, it's so great to have you here. Here is I took a little screenshot of what the Facebook group is going to look like. It's going to be called Fearless Wealth, the science of what really works in investing. So it's going to be great to have you there. Hey everybody, this is RC Peck, and this is my weekend podcast. And I have 2 price charts that I want to show you, and only 2. And let's start with the first, because I think it might reframe something that's going on right now. So if you look at the screen here, this is a price chart of gold. And this is a price chart that shows about little over 4 years of price data. Now, I put on here a horizontal rectangle, right? And I want to show you that gold has been bouncing between, let's call it 1,100 and 1,350, right? So it's bouncing between those two numbers, a $250 back and forth. Now, when it topped out, it took less than 3 years to top out, but when gold bottomed out between 1998 and 2001, it was actually a 4-year. I'm pointing this out to you because now emotionally it's very hair-raising, both the downside and the upside. But until gold decides to firmly break out of this sideways channel, we don't really have a decisive position. We don't really have much to talk about. Now, there are things moving and things are shifting and things are changing. But what we don't know for sure is, for sure until we have hindsight is, did gold bottom at 1,040? And so gold is almost looks like it's guaranteed to come down and test that $1,100 mark again. Right? It wants to come down and test that $1,100 mark again. I'm not saying it will, but it looks like it wants to come down and test that again. And so what it does at that $1,100 mark is really important. Now, gold is really stretched to the downside, so it could easily find a bottom and have all this exhausted selling of people selling their losses into the end of the calendar year that we get our bottom there. But we're going to watch it, and we're going to align our money with probability. We're going to align our money with what is actually happening. And when I see people that get hurt, right? When I talk to people, and I've been talking to people about this amazing coaching program that is starting in the new year, what I noticed most is people are aligning their money with their desired outcome, what they desire the outcome to be, what should be happening, but not what is actually happening, right? So what is actually happening right now is gold is looking for its bottom. Gold is looking for its bottom. And until it has clearly found its bottom, we still don't know for sure. And it is very likely it already has found its bottom, but we won't know 100% sure until it finds its bottom and breaks out to the upside and moves higher, right? And so that's where we are right now. Maybe not where you want to be, maybe not what your desired outcome is, right? Everyone who follows Peter Schiff and how he's been saying gold's going to go to $10,000 for 20 years and the dollar's going to zero, has been wrong. So look, I like gold. I have a strategy called LTech Gold that shows you when to be in, when not to be in. And to me, what's most important is what's happening, not what you believe should happen. And it's this small shift between those two that really gets people in trouble when they start aligning their money with their desired outcome. The second price chart I want to show you, and there's only two today, is a price chart of the yield of the 10-year Treasury. So look at the screen here for a second. I think this is super, super important. This screen shows you the yield on the 10-year Treasury in a 5.5-year sideways channel. Now the channel bumps between 1.4. I could have dropped this lower line down to the 1.4 because it hit 1.4 once in 2012 and again in 2016. But look at here. The yield on the 10-year Treasury is basically bouncing between 1.4% and 3%. Now, we could be in a bottoming process, right? It very much looks like we are in a bottoming process. The yield on the 10-year Treasury has been falling for 35 years. Same thing with the 30-year Treasury, okay? And it very well could be that things are bottoming. But we won't know until one of two things happen, if not both. One, the yield has to break above 3%, and it has to stay above there and break higher. If it does that, then the likelihood that the low yield environment has bottomed is in. Now, that doesn't mean the 10-year Treasury yield is going to go to 6% or 9% or 12%. It just means the likelihood that we saw the low is very high, right? There's probably a 7 out of 10 chance it is. The other thing we have to watch, and this is something that we're going to have to wait for, is we will have a recession in our future in the next 1 to 2 years. Statistically speaking, we know that recessions in this country happen on average every 6.5 years. The longest we've ever gone without a recession is 9.5 years. And we are at the 7.5-year mark without a recession. So we know statistically speaking, we kind of have one coming up in front of us in the next 1 to 2 years. Now, I bring this up because when the U.S. goes into recession, the Fed drops their interest rates 2 to 10 percentage points. Janet came out and said, hey, we're going to increase rates to 75 basis points. And then next year, we're going to increase it another 75 basis points. So let's say she holds to that. And at the end of next year, we're talking, and the federal funds rate is at 1.5%. Okay, so if that is the case, they still need room to drop rates when the next recession comes. And the minimum, the lowest they've ever dropped rates is 2 percentage points. So if they did that this time, we'd end up with a negative interest rate environment at a federal funds rate of negative 50 basis points. But here's the thing, and this is why we don't know yet for sure if rates have bottomed. Until we have the recession, until they lower rates, we don't know what's actually going to happen. Here's the point that I really want you to understand. Many times there's much to do about nothing. But because of the way our brain is designed, and because science and behavioral science around investing is very clear about this, our brain gets hijacked very easily. So to me, looking at the science, looking at the evidence right here says, yeah, you know what? Maybe we are bottoming. We had two 1.4% price hits on the yield of the 10-year Treasury. But until it has either broken out and above, and or we go through the next recession and we don't go to new lifetime lows in the yield, then we know, okay, we have bottomed out. And at that point, then we can say yields have bottomed. And over the next 10, 20, 30 years, they will go up. But likely they will not go up in some sort of hyperinflation way. But we'll see. So what is the takeaway? Like, what can you take away from this? So the first thing is, or kind of the thing for today is, what if there was nothing to talk about? I mean, think about that. What if, I mean, even on a weekly basis when I connect with you, which is funny because during the week, there are little things that I just want to adjust and connect, and what type of conversations, which may not have anything to do with the market, but have everything to do with your brain, right? That's different than, do we need to point out something in the market every hour or every minute or every hour or every half day, right? 5 times a week, once a month, once a year? And the answer is, many times there's actually nothing to talk about, right? What if there was nothing to scare about, right? The pick of the month $1 billion newsletter industry is firmly built on the back of, I'm going to scare the hell out of you. Remember the End of the Dollar or End of America campaign? Largest, most profitable pick of the month newsletter campaign in the history of newsletters. That was about the US dollar collapsing. Well, if you've paid attention since that promo came out 6 years ago, the dollar's never been stronger. So what if there was nothing to scare about? And what if there was nothing to complicate about? And these are some of the things that I want to explore with you. So we look at the science of it. We look at the evidence of it in the group, the Facebook group that I'm putting together, that Fearless Wealth Facebook group, the science of what really works in investing, and be able to make those connections and have those conversations with you and really build a tribe of people who are interested in the science of what really works in investing. And so I'm super excited about that. And so you'll see some shifts and changes and updates, not only with the podcast, and that may move entirely over to the Facebook group, by the way, but things to make it easier to connect with you to help you get what you want and what you need most. Hey guys, this is just another step in helping you protect your portfolio and your future. Until next time, this is RC Peck. Hey guys, super excited about this Facebook group that I'm putting together. I've hired an outside coach who actually used to write in the Pick of the Month newsletter industry. Incredibly accomplished and successful guy, making $250,000 plus a year. And his insight into that part of the cycle of investor awareness. If you remember, I talk about how people first go to the big box advisor, and then they go into the Pick of the Month $1 billion newsletter industry, and then they end up in their own brain and hurt themselves that way. But to bring in that outside point of view, and I've known this person, and I will reveal him soon enough, for a long time. He understands my philosophy and the approach and just how painful the Pick of the Month newsletter industry has been to people. But we are going to build this group and to show you what really works in investing. So go back, get the link, click on it. We have to approve you. We're going into a weekend. By the time you get this, it's already a weekend. So be patient for the approval as we build, as we get you into that. And just such great goodies I'm going to share with you. And the conversation threads that we can create in there are going to be pretty neat. Again, not just what you want, but the whole idea of the group is to get that certainty back, to get the control back over your money, to get the power back of your future, to know that there's certainty with that money, to know that the manipulators and the manipulation does not affect you anymore, to have that certainty and that certain future, all based on science, right? To be able to give back to your family. That's what we're talking about with this Facebook group called Fearless Wealth, the science of what really works in investing.